shifters, entrepreneurs on the move, with your host, Amanda Barr, bringing you power-packed 15-minute conversations with entrepreneurs who share their stories of shifting in life and business to keep on the move. Welcome to the show. This is your host, Amanda Barr, and boy, do we have an incredible shifter with us today. I have Mark Harper, president of We Are the Mighty, and USAF veteran and senior operations and marketing executive with 20 years experience in leading strategic growth, development, and execution in the media and entertainment industry. He has a BS from RPI in Troy, New York, and earned an MBA from UCLA Anderson. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, and I'm excited to dive in. If you can, for a few minutes, tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself and how you got to where you are today.
Sure thing. Well, as you mentioned, I'm an Air Force veteran, so right out of RPI, I commissioned in as a second lieutenant, and crazy enough, this happened, me going into the military just months before September 11th, 2001. So what started out as a journey to essentially follow a legacy in my family of military service, I had joined a quite different flavor of military experience when we found ourselves in the midst of a conflict very early on in my Air Force career. And shockingly enough, in the Air Force, we're very familiar that the Air Force pilots, et cetera, get called in right off the bat, but most of the Air Force is in a more of a support role. But my particular squadron was one that was there to create deployed communication footprints to bring in the bigger part of the military and establish kind of forward operating bases. And so my little shop, out of all of them, was one of the ones that was deployed quickly in the very beginning to just start staging out there. And while I did not deploy right away, my squadron did, and it put me into a very interesting position where back at the base, we were working on keeping ready and to swap back in and out for people that were getting deployed and coming back. And I had been trying to find ways to be useful. Had started creating some flashy content and some slides for some generals that were showing up. And when I say that, again, this is 2001, I had put a little animation in the beginning of a PowerPoint slide, which was a tough thing to do back in 2001. But basically, it was this big eagle flying in and grabbing a shield to animate the logo and crest of our squadron. And this was shown in front of like 500 people. And the general that was there visiting said, "Who did this?" And the room kind of looked at each other quizzically, and someone pointed to me in the back of the room, and he said, "You're coming with me after this. I need to talk to you." And so I went up, and he said, "I don't know how you did what you did, but I'm guessing that you've got some skills here that are out of the ordinary. I'd like to put you over in the training shop and help us make videos, et cetera, to keep everyone up to date and current." And so that actually started my path to Hollywood, as weird as that may sound, because I immediately started making video content and productions and became so useful at it that my second assignment was in combat camera, where I spent the bulk of my Air Force tenure of 7 years. So at combat camera, we were deploying around the globe, documenting as combat photojournalists what was happening out in the field. And this ranged from, no kidding, firefights on the streets, all the way up to natural disaster relief missions and everything in between. Anything that the military was doing, we were there shooting it. The stuff you would, ultimately see on the History Channel, if that were a thing someday. And a lot of our footage went to public affairs, went to news outlets around the world, and went to even things like psychological operations. So it was a very cool experience, and it got me to a point where I had kind of been bitten by the content bug, and it came a time in my Air Force career where they move you around quite a bit, and the opportunities ahead of me just didn't look as as impactful as the work that I was doing, sharing the stories of our military. And I made the decision to kind of blindly move out to Los Angeles and just start knocking on doors to see what I could do. That led me to a handful of jobs on the business side of the entertainment industry, working at Paramount Pictures, a company called Technicolor. And ultimately in 2014, I ended up at We Are the Mighty.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for taking us down your journey through the military. It's so fascinating because I think sometimes you see the military as being just a fighting force, not that you've got, film and production and photography and all this happening all at the same time while this is all going on. So it's quite interesting and kind of an interesting way to get into that space. But now you are transitioning in and using those skills that you had started off in the military and now giving back, which is so exciting through We Are the Mighty. And can you tell our listeners more about what We Are the Mighty is and how it got started?
Absolutely. So We Are the Mighty is a veteran-led entertainment company creating content unique to this military veteran community, which is quite large. It's not only active duty, reserves, and veterans, but also the families that support every part of that in between. And, I'd like to think that we help connect service members and their families and share the experiences of the military and to help reflect on service as a whole to honor this community. Again, it was officially launched in 2014 on November 11th, which is Veterans Day, by a gentleman named David Gale, who was the head of MTV Films for the better part of, I believe, the 18 years he was at MTV. And what David set out to do was to create a brand wrapper for the military community, much like, at least when I was growing up, MTV was a brand wrapper for Gen X, Gen Y, music. Now MTV's kind of morphed a little bit more into things like Teen Mom and Jersey Shore. Still excellent programming, but slightly different in connecting a community at large, I think. And we set out to kind of create something that was almost kind of like the MTV model, where MTV had a channel, and then they had their film department, and the channel would feed and populate ideation for the movies that would then come out of it. And some of them were very obvious, like the Jackass franchise was perfect to turn into films. But we also got some great films like Election and Varsity Blues, Kings of Comedy. There were 28 films that David did while he was there. And We Are the Mighty, we used our website, www.wearethemighty.com, and our social media channels across Facebook and then ultimately Instagram and Twitter to create what our We Are the Mighty channel was, and to curate and find out what really resonated with the community to move it into TV and film properties. And over the last 6 years, we've built quite a following, and we've had the opportunity to do a handful of digital series, some that actually air on the Veteran Administration, the VA hospital channels, and some that have been seen on PBS, and one that was just about to launch on Quibi before Quibi kind of pulled the plug on it, and we're looking for a new home for that. But that was an exciting show too. That was the U.S. Army allowing us to follow 5 new recruits from the beginning to the end of the 10 weeks of Army boot camp. And, as an Air Force guy, I've always been curious what the Army boot camp was like. And I think the American people in general have a fascination with, supporting the troops, but also understanding on what they go through and what that process is like. So the show is really cool, hoping to find a home for it. But that's one of the bigger projects that we were able to finish in the last year or so.
Yeah, no, it's so great. You guys have so much. I was looking at your site, and there's, can you talk a little bit? There's so many different categories, and as you shared, there's different movies and series, and that would be fascinating to watch things that we think and we would like to know about, but maybe don't actually know. So if you can talk a little bit about the categories and how that came about.
Sure. So the site itself and these categories are like the verticals of content that we have. Range across things like history to culture, a tactical vertical where we talk about military gear and tech. We've got a trending topic that takes, breaking news or things of interest in the military community, and we put our own little kind of spin on it. We are not a news organization by any means. There's some great publishers out there that handle that. We are more of kind of a lifestyle and entertainment entity for the military community. And, in the very beginning of our lifespan here, we were analogous to sort of being a BuzzFeed for the military community. And I think that still kind of works to today. And I think that it's a very interesting niche that we support and service. And the platform itself has given us opportunities based on the traffic that comes in and the reach that we have and our relationships with nonprofits and the influencers in our military community to celebrate and highlight some of them. And this year we launched the Mighty 25 of 2020 on our site, where we highlight 25 influential people supporting the military community. And these are the people that are making a difference for the military service members, veterans, and their families. And we've done this now for the past 5 years or so. And we've highlighted, people from military community directly, like General Stanley McChrystal and Medal of Honor recipient Florence Groberg, to former First Lady Jill Biden, and I guess now First Lady Jill Biden, and former Senator Elizabeth Dole, to veteran advocates like Jon Stewart and the famed actor Gary Sinise, who runs his own nonprofit for the military community called the Gary Sinise Foundation. So it's a really great way for us to kind of give back and to highlight people that are doing some incredible things, and to shine a spotlight on that and just raise more awareness of what's going on in the community.
I love that. I'm so glad you brought it up, because I was going to ask about the Mighty 25. That was the one thing that really kind of stood out for me, just being new to the site and checking it out and seeing what you guys offer. And I just love seeing all those individuals that you guys are highlighting and doing this every single year. And it just brings a lot of goodwill to those that are supporters, those that are a part of the community, and those that are doing great work in their own lives. Now, I would like to talk, our show is all about shifting, and you've been in this for a while, because you've been in the military and then transitioned out, and you've seen content and all these things change. But I'd like to know, from your perspective, the military members from yesterday to today and going forward, what shifts have you seen or experienced, maybe in the military in general, or anything you would like to share about shifting?
Well, I say that an interesting shift that I think that I've been watching over the last couple of years, as social media has really taken the world as a platform for everyone to have a voice, is for many, your military experience is something, or you put the uniform on, you have a job, you're part of a bigger mission, but as an individual, you're not really recognized because it's more of the collective mission and what you're doing. And so what I've seen, particularly in the past 4 years, is a lot of members of the military who raised to some sort of notoriety and have established a presence online and are able to actually help share even more their experiences and stories from inside the military itself. And with that, we have seen a real boon in the entrepreneurs that have started coming out of the military, and then the support for those businesses and for helping people with those experiences get the resources they need to start their businesses. And again, it's an old phrase, a rising tide lifts all ships. I think that as more people from the military are doing positive things in the community and demonstrating that military members are not just people with weapons experience, but there are a variety of experiences that anyone comes out of the military with, and are very capable problem solvers and very smart individuals who will be an incredible asset to any organization or any business that they try to start.
Yeah, I remember when we were talking when we first connected, and you had shared that, if you think about it, all the different careers somebody could have in civilian life are all the same roles that could be played in the military life. Maybe you can share a little bit more about that, because I just, it's just a good reminder that not everybody's doing the same thing. It's a whole world in and of itself.
Yeah, and when I went into the military, I could have filled a book of all the things I didn't know. And one of those things initially was that, the military is oddly the biggest group of gated communities in the world. And by that I mean each base, installation, fort, etc., is a mini city, and each city has its requirements to run and operate. So things you don't think about are in the military. We have plumbers. We have people that collect trash. We have people that operate all the food services, the gyms, et cetera, all the logistics that's required from moving people and supplies from point A to point B. There's a lot that goes into maintaining everything. And as the years progress, a lot of those support roles are converted more and more to civilian contracts. But if you think about it from that perspective, it's amazing what level of experience any person could have in the military in that capacity for the mission. And so not everyone in the Air Force is a pilot. In fact, a shockingly small percentage of people in the Air Force are pilots. I would also imagine that in the Space Force, very few are going to be astronauts or ever shuttle anything to be a pilot.
Right.
But there's there are just teams and teams of people that help make these things happen. And I think that's very much lost the rest of America's understanding of what exactly goes into military service as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, and thank you for sharing that. And I think that's one thing that comes out in your platform is all those stories and all the different ways that We Are the Mighty are sharing, with the military and with those that are, maybe not military. I would love to know, what do you wish everybody actually knew about We Are the Mighty and what you guys are doing?
Well, it's hard to really tell what our publisher is doing just on the face of it when you go to the website and you see the stories that we're talking about, the businesses we're highlighting, the military history and trivia that you're probably not aware of. But there's a lot more to the company at that. And we've got about 10 people on the team right now. Everyone is part of the military community, either a veteran themselves or a spouse or a family member. And all these people are working hard on delivering this content, and we're working on a lot of things that will come to fruition with time as we continue to move into longer form content in the form of TV and film. And so, hopefully in the not too distant future, we'll see some longer form pieces that come out of this little essentially a little publisher that's catering to the mega niche that is the military community at large. And we'll get some of our stories shared on some bigger screens out there.
Awesome. And I do want to make a little plug, because you do work with companies that want to support and be a part of the platform. Can you share a little bit about how companies that do want to support military, do want to share their story, how they can do that with your We Are the Mighty platform?
Well, the way that we keep the lights on is an ad-driven model. So we help connect Fortune 1000 companies, really anyone who have an authentic offering for the military community by sharing their story of their brand and what they're doing either in the military community or what services or goods they have that the military community would like. As a whole, the military community is a very loyal group of buyers and with great purchasing power. and they're loyal to the brands that support the military back. So we, to that length, we do a lot of branded content. We've done a handful of commercials, and it's great to help make these connections with the brands that we like to the military community.
Awesome. And we'll definitely get your contact information in just a minute so those can reach out to you. But to wrap it up, I always like to get a little bit of shifter wisdom from our guests. So I'd like to know from you, what has either kept you on the move, or what would you say is just something that has kept, that's something you could share about keeping on the move?
Yeah, so, what's interesting is when I left the military, I fully prepared to leave the military, so much so that I would downplay that I spent 7 years in when I first came out here, and I would even remove it from my resume because it would often, at that time, confuse people, or it would actually be kind of a ding against me from a experience perception. But what I've learned back at We Are the Mighty is rolling up our sleeves, getting involved with the nonprofits, connecting community members, sharing stories. I feel like I'm back to being part of something that's larger than me, and collectively a really amazing connection piece to have the ability to help join our military community in some way, shape, or form. Really keeps me going, and I see the positive impact that our platform can affect, sharing stories, news, resourcing, etc. And it's really something that makes me proud of the company and the team every day as we move forward.
It's awesome, and thank you for sharing that. I think that when we are a part of something bigger than us, it really makes a big impact. So how do they get in touch with you, Mark? I'm sure those listening today will want to know how they can get connected.
Well, my email address, mark.harper@wearethemighty.com, is a great, quick way to reach me. But please take a look at the site or poke around social media, and I welcome anyone reaching out, saying hi, especially those in the entrepreneurial space. We still think of ourselves maybe not as a startup anymore, but very much as an early stage company with its own set of challenges, and happy to speak to people out there about that experience. Awesome.
Well, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and sharing about We Are the Mighty. We're thankful to have you on the show.
Great. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, it was great. And for all those listening out there, definitely get connected to We Are the Mighty. Check out their site, watch their content, support, be a part of it. And for all those listening today, keep on the move.
We hope you enjoyed the episode today. We appreciate each one of you for listening and hope you left inspired and motivated to keep on the move. If you think this episode might help or inspire someone else, please share. Don't forget to subscribe and keep in the loop to hear more incredible stories of entrepreneurs like yourself on the move. Thank you for our supporters, RTB Capital Group, Financial Powerhouse, Callcast, and Power Podcasting. Now, get out there and keep on the move.